Good morning 4B and good afternoon 4A. Welcome back to another day of virtual learning. Today we're going to go ahead and start with another lesson in math. So let's go ahead and read our objectives to get started. First of all, today is the beautiful day of November the 5th of 2020. Our title for this lesson is Make a Table and Look for a Pattern. Our first objective, TEKS 4.1c, calls Select Tools including real objects, manipulatives, paper and pencil, and technology as appropriate to solve problems. What is this TEK telling me, guys? What are we going to do while using this TEK? Well, if you said we're going to be using different type of tools to solve a problem or anything around that area, you were right. Okay? Now let's go ahead and read the second objective, TEKS 4.1e. Create and use representations to organize, record, and communicate mathematical ideas. What do we think this objective is telling us? If you said we're going to create something and use them to solve the problems as well, then you were absolutely correct as well. Okay, so those are our objectives for this lesson. Looking through my lesson, there is no new language of the discipline, so we will go ahead and jump right into our problem of the day. Okay, our problem of the day is Talisa made 3 block towers. She recorded her pattern. If she continued the pattern, how many blocks would be in a 10-story tower? How many would be in a 100-story tower? Okay, so that is our problem of the day. First things first, as usual, let's go ahead and highlight the questions so we can focus on what it's asking us. So our first question is, how many blocks would be in a 10-story tower? And how many blocks would be in a 100-story tower would be my second question. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and circle what we feel is important. So we know that Talisa, she made 3 block towers. She knows her pattern because she recorded it. And we know it's a pattern, so the pattern will continue. Okay? So we want to know how many blocks are we going to need for a 10-story tower and a 100-story tower. That is our information. So let's go ahead and I'm going to draw to you the 3 towers that she has so far. So far she has 1 tower made of blocks. So we know how blocks look, right? And the first story is made out of 4 blocks. Okay, that's her first tower. So it's 1 story. And it's made out of 4 blocks. Her second tower is made up of 2 stories. But this time, since it's 2 stories, she used 8 blocks in total. Okay. And last but not least, she has the third one that she has. It's made up of 3 stories. And in total, she has 12 blocks. Okay? So according to our title, we're going to make a table and look at a pattern. So the first thing we need to do, we have to make a plan. Okay? We're going to have to make a plan and make the remaining towers. So we have to create a table with what we have so far. Okay? So how about we create an input-output table? Okay? So let's go ahead and create an input-output table. Simple. Right, like I showed you last time. Make it big enough so all of the information here fits. And we're going to divide it into 3 columns. The first column will be our input. The middle column would be our rule that we're using. And our final column would be our output. So again, input, the rule that we're using, or the pattern, and the output. Okay? So now, so far we have 3 models here. What do you think is our input? Something that we're putting in. If you said story, you are correct. That is how many stories it is. So that's our input. That's how big we're making it. So we're going to go ahead and divide our table into sections so we can input our input. So our input for the first one is 1. For our second one is 2. For our third one is 3. Okay? And I want to make sure that I have enough evidence. So I'm going to go ahead and just add input 4 and 5, which we will draw right now. Now our outputs, make sure you put the correct output to the correct input. Remember, output is something that we take out of it. So for 1 story, she used 4 blocks. For 2 stories, she used 8 blocks. And for 12 stories, she used 3 blocks. Okay? And we have our 2 missing ones. So first, before we run over the rule, let's go ahead and see if we could draw the following 2. Okay, let's draw the 4-story one. So it's going to be 4 stories. So we know it's going to be 4 stories high. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Let's just draw that line 4 down. How many stories are the story? How long are they? How long are they? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Seems like they're all 4 long, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we just simply connect our story right there. Simple, right? Just going by what the information that we have. So now, if we connect all our squares together, how many do we have in total? Well, I have a 4 by 4. So a 4 stories would be 16 blocks used. Okay. Now let's go ahead and work on the last one. We want to see a 5-story one. I'm going to draw it down here for space. So again, its height, it's going to be 5 because that's where you get the height, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because I added another story. Now, we know the length of it is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So it's 4 long. All we have to do is connect our building blocks, make them 3D, and join them. 1 story, 2 stories, 3 stories, 4 stories, and then connect the lines. So in total, we have a total number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 5 by 4. What is 5 by 4? 20. Good job. So in 5 stories, she will use 20 blocks. Okay, awesome. That is without a rule. That's just going by the information that they gave us. Okay, so now let's go ahead and fill it in here. So in 4 stories, she will use 16 blocks. In 5 stories, she will use 20 blocks. Okay, with that said, let's go ahead and draw our symbols. Are we going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide? What are we going to do? Let's go ahead and start with adding. Well, I noticed that I can add 4 blocks every time, so let's try it. If I add 1 plus 4, will it give me 4? No. Well, mister, what if we do add 3? Let's totally do it. 1 plus 3, we get 4. Awesome. Remember, the rule needs to be the same for all of our inputs. So now let's go ahead and try it over here. Plus 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. Do I get 5? No. So this rule does not apply. Okay, can we add anything else? 1 plus something to make 4? Well, no. We're not adding. Now, can we subtract 1 minus something to get 4? Is that possible? Well, not really. Our input is smaller. So no, we're not subtracting. Let's go ahead and try multiplying. Can I multiply 1 times something to get 4? Well, 1 times 4 gives me 4. Okay. Let's try 2 times 4 gives me 8. Okay. 3 times 4 gives me... Whoa, what did I do wrong here? My bad. Simple mistake, you see? We can make mistakes as well. Make sure to copy the correct one. There we go, 12. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 4 is 20. Okay? So it seems that we found our rule. Now, just makes sense. Let's make sure that it is correct. So let's look at division. Can I divide 1 divided by something to get 4? Is that possible? Well, again, no. The number is too small, so nope. So we found our rule. Now, once that we found our rule, I'm done, Mr. Silva. That's my answer. No, senor. So now, we need to go back and look at our questions. We're looking how many blocks would be in a 10-story tower and in a 100-story tower. Now, do you think in my table I need to draw 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as inputs? No. So we're simply going to add an extra section to our table. And we're going to divide it in 2. Remember, our table, we can skip numbers if we don't need them. So we can skip all the way to 10. So if our input is 10, it's going to be 10 stories, right? Because that's where we got our input. It's going to be 10 stories. We know the rule is multiplying times 4. So how many blocks will we be using? 40. Now let's try it for 100. We know the rule is times 4. So our input, which is the story, right? The stories, how tall the building is. If it's 100 stories big, we multiply it times 4, we get 400. Okay, so we use 400 blocks to create a 100-story building. Okay, so to answer our problem, Talisa needs 40 blocks for a 10-story tower, comma, and for 100 blocks for a 100-story tower. And boom, we solve our answer. Again, you could also draw them if you wish, but imagine drawing 100 stories. That's going to take a while to do. So again, make sure to draw your table such like I did. Draw your input, your output, the rule in the middle. Draw your symbols and test each one. Remember, we test each symbol with our input. Okay? We test each symbol to our input, and our rule needs to be the same in all of them right here. Okay? So once we find the rule, everything else comes back into it. It becomes very easy. Okay? Now remember that a rule for the pattern and the table, it needs to be the same for all of them. So we noticed that it was times 4, and it worked for the ones we had. So then we can skip our inputs to the numbers that we need and simply use that rule. That way we don't run unnecessary numbers in our input. You are able to do that like I did right now. Okay? Well, I hope this lesson helped. I feel this is a very easy to understand lesson. If you have any questions, please direct them to Mr. Arasate. I feel he is capable enough to help you guys out, okay? Again, guys, stay safe. I miss you. I always have you in my mind. So make sure to be respectful, responsible, kind, and safe at all times. And I'll see you guys next week. Take care Enjoy the rest of your lesson. Finish strong, and I'll see you Monday. Bye, kiddos.